Church Unitarian Universalist. I'm your worship associate, Jim O'Neill, and it's a joy to be with you today. For those new to our community church is a progressive, open-minded, and religious community. We welcome all who are in search for a true being. Ours is a faith in action as we do the work of social justice and elevate compassion in our quest to live ethically, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every being. Please look for your weekly email for announcements. We are delighted to welcome back to our pulpit today, Alicia Cooke. She's a member of our community. It helps if the mic is on. She's a member since 2013. She is a high school social studies teacher with a background in healthcare policy, community organizing, and climate justice advocacy. She's also a member of our worship committee and a regular visitor to our pulpit. Please look to our weekly email for announcements.
Good morning. Good morning. Our opening words this morning come from Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around her with enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last, and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
As we enter our sacred time of worship, it's our custom to light a chalice invoking hope, eternal truth to our worship. Please join us in singing the words of our chalice lighting. We light this flame. They're printed in your order of service. Let's join now in the children's processional to the children here or wherever they are.
Our first reading is a poem from Pat Schneider. It's called The Patience of Ordinary Things. It is a kind of love, is it not? How the cup holds the tea. How the chair stands sturdy and foursquare. How the floor receives the bottom of shoes or toes. How soles of feet know where they're supposed to be. I've been thinking about the patience of ordinary things. How clothes wait respectfully in closets, and soap dries quickly in the dish, and towels drink the wet from the skin of the back, and the lovely repetition of stairs. And what is more generous than wisdom?
Now is our sacred time of joys and sorrows. If you're online, you may write your joys and sorrows in the comments section to be read aloud. In person, you may write them on one of the cards being passed out by our greeters. You can remain seated for hymn number 191. Now I recall my childhood. Number 191, and your hymn. A concern from Liz Trotter. Our immigrant friend, Rosa Diaz, has 4 children about to start school again. If anyone wants to help, please see me after church. She's still struggling to pay rent. From Michelle, please keep my Aunt V in your thoughts as she goes through a difficult medical issue. She's like a big sister to me. sorrow at the death of Len Levine, a frequent guest at our dinners at 6, and now alone. For Malice, a joy. We had a wonderful visit to Bogey State Park yesterday, and would recommend a visit to anyone thinking of going. The sorrow for friends in Palestine and folks suffering in Gaza.
I have a sorrow, and it's actually sad news for this whole congregation. A good friend of mine, and someone who had met a number of you at church, decided to go visit one of our daughters in Oakland, California, a couple of weeks ago. One Sunday morning, she decided to take a walk by herself. She got to a corner at a crosswalk, and as she started across, a pickup truck, which had stopped right in the corner, suddenly took off and struck her. And continued on down, leaving the scene. Darlene was taken to a hospital where she later died. Security footage, the cameras, enabled the police to identify the pickup truck, pursue him, and arrest him. He had the DWI, and he was probably intoxicated when he did it. They got him on vehicular homicide. Darlene was a very kind, gentle person and had a wonderful sense of humor. She had taught school for 30 years on a variety of subjects. And when I consider a person like that, of that character, and how she came to such a violent end, it saddens and angers me. I know we're told that this universe is under the control of some all-powerful, good being. And if that's the case, I'd like to have a little chit-chat with him or it over what happened last Sunday. There'd be some plain speaking, I can tell you. I first met Darlene at the Friends of the Jefferson Public Library, at the main library on West Esplanade, where she and I volunteered. After working with her a while, I came to know that she was a freethinker and pretty politically liberal. I figured, hey, this would be a good fit. So I told her about the church. She came, and it was an immediate perfect fit. She told me how much she liked the people. She just felt very much at home, and she suspected that she was going to become a regular here every Sunday. In fact, the first Sunday she came, she asked if a name tag could be named for her. I mean, how many people do that? Well, she liked the sermons too, all of them, especially by someone with the initials AC. This past Wednesday, just 3 days after she died, a letter she had written to the editor of the New Orleans Advocate appeared. The subject was the role of LGBTQ people in American, in his world history. And I'm sure she would have been pleased that it was published. There's a copy of the letter in the office up front. The last time I saw Darlene, we were walking out to our cars in the parking lot. I told her how much I liked the fact that she was attending the church so often. And she said, I want to thank you for introducing me to the church. It's the last thing she said to me. So let's light a candle for Darlene, and I would ask that we have a moment of silence in her memory. Thank you.
We'd like 2 more candles. One for the joys still bubbling up, continue to share. And one for the sorrows deep within us that we cannot yet put into words. hold them anew in our hearts.
So our second reading is from the Bible, which I don't think I've ever quoted in a sermon. It comes from Ecclesiastes. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owners except to feast their eyes on them? The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much. But as for the rich, their abundance permits them no sleep. I have seen a grievous evil under the sun. Wealth hoarded to the harm of its owners, or wealth lost through some misfortune so that when they have children, there's nothing left for them to inherit. Everyone comes naked from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. They take nothing from their toil that they can carry in their hands. This too is grievous evil. As everyone comes, so they depart, and what do they gain, since they toil for the wind? All their days they eat in darkness with great frustration, affliction, and anger. This is what I have observed to be good, that it is appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and find satisfaction in their labor under the sun during the few days of life God has given them. For this is their lot. So in 2020, as we all moved our lives deep into our homes, I finally got an Instagram account. Facebook was okay for following people I know, although my friends did post some very depressing things. On Instagram, however, I purposefully didn't follow anyone that I knew. I could open the app's Explore page and be greeted by a grid of windows into strangers' lives. These weren't famous people I was following, or even people with great insights or funny commentary. Instead, they were normal people from all over the world who invited me to get ready with them in the morning as they applied makeup or made coffee, to spend the day with them as they checked emails or went to the gym, or did any other number of utterly mundane and honestly quite boring tasks. In many cases, the same ones that I was doing myself. I might find that an hour had passed in that app, and all I had done was watch people I don't know load a week's worth of lunches into Tupperware containers again and again and again. And at the time, I couldn't figure out why those videos had such a hold on me. As life, in a larger sense, the global, the national sense, proceeded to break down even further, every evening I would retreat more deeply into the unremarkable lives of strangers. I had to see how they folded their duvets, whether they were morning or evening showerers, how many steps their skincare routine was. And millions of us were watching the same thing, so I knew I was on to something, I just didn't know what. Maybe it was simply the fact that my brain evolved over millions of years to be in tune with my immediate surroundings, and yet destined in the 21st century to be bombarded with 24-hour news of horrors near and far. I simply didn't want to think about a pandemic, or genocide, or fascism. I wanted these little daily routines being carried out over the world to be all there was in the world. On social media, all videos are curated to an extent. Most are edited and filtered to show at least a somewhat romanticized view of our daily lives. And the colors are a little bit softer, and the time frame is compressed to make it seem like cleaning the kitchen actually takes no time at all. And it's tempting, almost required to say, well, that's not what life is really like. And maybe so, but honestly, is the video any less special because of it? For me, I knew that the editing was not the thing drawing me in. The subject itself was the thing. In perusing comments online, there seemed to be at least one person who agreed with me. This one internet user reflected on her own daily routine, commented, quote, "The little stuff always mattered, even when I treated it like a nuisance. These days, I really do believe chores give my life meaning. Not just because they present texture and struggle and a necessary counterpart to rest, all true, but because maintenance is in itself profound. Caring for ourselves, for other people, for our homes, for plants and other animals, these are the unfinishable projects of our lives. We do them over and over again, not to conquer them or for personal gain, but to maintain and nourish them with no greater expectation. Given how swayed humans are by the pursuit of growth, wealth, ownership, and power, I think this is very sweet and pure, almost spiritual." End of quote. So, almost spiritual. It's a pretty lofty adjective to use to describe household chores. But there are many spiritual thinkers who entreat us to zoom in on the ordinary. The Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh once wrote beautifully about the simple task of doing the dishes. He wrote, "I enjoy taking my time with each dish, being fully aware of the dish, the water, and each moment of my hands. I know that if I hurry in order to eat dessert sooner, the time of washing dishes will be unpleasant and not worth living. And that would be a pity, because each minute, each second of life is a miracle. The dishes themselves and the fact that I am here washing them are miracles. If I am incapable of washing dishes joyfully, if I want to finish them quickly so I can go home and have dessert or a cup of tea, I will be equally incapable of enjoying my dessert or my cup of tea when I finally have it." So for Thich Nhat Hanh, the enjoyment of the ordinary tasks of life is rooted in the philosophy of mindfulness and the idea that joy can arrive from being truly present in the moment. Yet in Buddhism, mindfulness is just one aspect of a path to enlightenment, and its role is deeper than just enjoyment in the moment. By paying close and impartial attention to moments which come and go endlessly, the Buddhist practitioner is led to the insight that nothing in life is permanent. And if nothing is permanent, nothing we gain in life is kept forever. So we then see desire as the root of all suffering, because what we gain from our desire is never permanent. We will always want more. The author of Ecclesiastes in the Hebrew Bible, in words they attribute to Kohelet, son of David, says something similar in what I consider to be one of the most beautiful passages in the Bible. The rich, he tells us, are addicted to their pursuit of more. The author doesn't merely denounce them for this, he also implies pity for them. First, he concludes they will never be truly happy. He writes, "All their days they eat in darkness with great frustration and affliction and anger." And as for the source of a truer satisfaction in life, he adds, "This is what I have observed to be good, that it is appropriate for a person to eat, drink, and find satisfaction in their labor under the sun during the few days of life that God has given them." So eating, drinking, doing the dishes. If these thinkers are to be believed, these simple things are not the warm-up act for something better, and they are the true substance of life. I don't think it's an accident that so many of the great poets, especially those beloved by many UU such as Mary Oliver and Wendell Berry, focus their attention on the small, and the readily at hand. I know it's been true for me as I've gotten older. In my life, the process of aging has been one of contraction, and the world has gotten smaller, but also deeper. Priorities have shifted to the immediate and the local. I used to need exotic travels and grand romances, and now I'm increasingly content with listening to birdsong from the front porch and rising frequently from my seat to let the cats in and out and in and out. So I think we are on this earth to do very ordinary things. In these times, however, surrounded by conflicts and injustice that we simply cannot ignore, we are regularly called upon to do extraordinary things. And what a pain that it should have to be. If we allowed everyday miracles to suffice for our fulfillment, perhaps we wouldn't take more than we need, like the rich man in Ecclesiastes. And if we didn't take more than we need, perhaps such severe injustices would not persist in this world. Amid these injustices, when we consider our purpose on the planet, we might overlook the ordinary and instead reach for some pretty lofty concepts. Why are we here? We're here to fight for justice, for freedom, for the least among us. But we should always be asking ourselves, what exactly are we fighting to protect or bring about? Freedom, justice, these are high ideals, but when you look at them closer, they are manifested in the most ordinary of moments. Around the world, billions of us are striving not to dominate, but to simply exist in a remarkably mundane way. For a trans person to go to the restroom, for a person to tap clean, drinkable water from their kitchen sink, for every child to fall asleep at night in a very ordinary room, with very ordinary noises in the street outside, and a very ordinary day ahead, and not the disorientation and dread of a war zone. In 2019, when migrant children were being separated from their parents and held at detention camps along the southern border, the writer Dana Stevens wrote a piece for Slate magazine, which she called Toothpaste and Soap. These two items, she wrote, are ordinary everyday substances. They are such banal necessities as to be symbols of monotony, and yet being so conspicuously absent from the detention camps, and that being very much by design. They took on a whole new meaning for this journalist and mother. The littlest kids there, she wrote, the infants and toddlers, don't know the words for soap or toothpaste yet. They don't miss the items of themselves, only the feelings of adult contact and loving physical care with which they associate these substances. To be kept clean and warm and well fed, to smell nice as you fall asleep, to have a toothbrush and a blanket and a sock ball. Above all, to have someone who cares that you have these things. This is in some primal way to belong in the world. So eating, drinking, dishes, toothpaste, and soap. If this is what the world was like for everyone, it would be enough. That would be enough. And who could possibly claim to need anything more? But what happens when we decide that these things are not enough? There's so many examples in our world of what happens next. We seek domination, and money, and territory, and fame, and oil. Because some refuse to be satisfied, the ordinary stuff of life is increasingly commodified around the world. Take the Nestle Corporation, for example, who for years withdrew tens of millions of gallons of water from the San Bernardino National Forest without a valid permit in place, even as drought conditions worsened throughout the state. Amid many similar scandals worldwide, Nestle's CEO called the idea that water access was a human right to be an extreme position. Corporations such as Monsanto regularly sue small-scale farmers who save and replant their patented seeds, forcing dependency on a multinational corporation, even as they plant on their own land. And in our public spheres, we debate whether an education or a doctor's visit or breathable air should be a right that we all have, or whether we will allow corporations to sell these common goods back to us. Pushing back against this greed, to make sure that we and our communities have enough, is the reason why we are so often forced away from our daily routines and into the grand struggle we did not ask for. We must add extra work onto the work of simply living. At the same time, I'm not going to tell you to abandon that work, because we can't. Our conscience and our faith won't allow it. But I also want to remind the soft animal that is you, that you can and deserve to derive happiness and satisfaction simply from being here and living. Ordinary things are enough. A life of habits and repetition contains within itself enough seeds to provide us with wonder and joy all of the days of our lives. Only we would allow it to be the case. I suppose another reason why I like my Instagram world is that it's proof that even while we watch our country slide into authoritarian rule, there's still time to make and enjoy a really good cup of tea. From Instagram, I watch people in Gaza feed and cuddle feral cats, even as the bombs drop. Girls dance at the Kukumi refugee camp in Kenya. These small acts, these ordinary acts, serve as proof of life. That as our Easter hymn goes, always, always something sings. When the greed of oligarchs threatens your very survival, just to go on living is one big act of rebellion. The small tasks and chores that maintain our everyday lives are fundamentally acts of worship. They are a way to reclaim the essential goodness of life, to remind ourselves that to draw breath for 80 or so years amid the limitless time and space of the universe is nothing short of miraculous. When Mary Oliver asks us in her poem what we plan to do with our one wild and precious life, she's not looking for a list of accomplishments. She's wondering how much we paid attention. How many small miracles will have passed us by unnoticed and unappreciated before we move on from this life. So one last anecdote I'll share, because the purity of this story just gets me every time. A few years ago, a friend of mine worked as a social worker in a transitional house for people with severe mental illness. She said that one day the staff noticed that some colorful construction paper had gone missing. And not something to worry about, but just something they had noticed. Eventually, the mystery was solved when they peeked into the bedroom of one of their newer residents and saw that she had decorated the walls with colorful butterflies that had been cut out from the missing construction paper. And she said she was sorry that she had taken it and had not mentioned it. It's just that this small room of hers in the transitional house was the only time in her life she'd ever had a room of her own. And she just wanted to make it a little more personal. So now we have eating and drinking and doing the dishes, toothpaste, soap, and now paper butterflies in a room of one's own. May we never take these things for granted. In times of war or disaster or personal crisis, the ordinary is what we miss. As Dana Stevens wrote so eloquently about migrant children, these simple things are, in some primal way, to belong in the world. At our core, we fit into our everyday surroundings like a hand in a glove. And the act of making coffee is far more real than currency. And a load of clean laundry is more concrete than credit score. So after you leave this room today, make sure you pay attention to these ordinary things. As our last hymn plays, listen to the lyrics and how the notes come together to form a melody. Let our voices fill your senses. During coffee hour, take in the smell and the taste of what you choose to eat or drink. Strike up conversations with people whose inner lives are as rich as your own. At home, enjoy the smell and warmth of clean laundry and the softness of your pet's fur. Set an alarm for the job you're privileged to go to tomorrow, one which pays your bills and provides a service to the world. From every corner, take in the utter richness of life, which is ordinary and fleeting and precious, and an absolute gift. You belong in this world, and it waits for you. Blessed be.
Community church is a self-sustaining congregation. Members and friends' generosity help us do the sacred work of bringing justice, spirituality, and compassion to our community and beyond. You can give online, by text, or in person this morning. See the information on the back of your order of service for online giving. And I invite you now to join in our offertory hymn, number 329. Life has loneliness to sell.
Loveliness.
Loveliness. That's what it is. It's loveliness. Number 329.
For benediction, because I didn't mention it before, did everyone see this lovely altar that Carol put together? That she actually found paper butterflies just when she read the title of it, which I love. So thank her for that when you see her. Our benediction is from Michael Berry. Horseback on Sunday morning, harvest over. We taste persimmon and wild grape, sharp, sweet summer's end. In time's maze over fall fields, we name names that rest on graves. We open a persimmon seed to find the tree that stands in promise, pale in the seed's marrow. Geese appear high over us, pass, and the sky closes. Abandon, as in love or sleep, holds them to their way. Clear in the ancient faith, what we need is here. And we pray, not for new earth or heaven, but to be quiet in heart and in eye, clear. What we need is here. Closing hymn is 331, Life is the Greatest Gift of All. You may rise in body and your spirit as you are moved.
As we end our worship today, please join in extinguishing the chalice found in your order of service. We extinguish the chalice here that it might flow gently in our hearts. May the light of your heart vividly bless us. May it guide your way until we work together again. Please join us after the service in the fellowship hall for refreshment and conversation.
11 o'clock.